It's time once again for another map review. This is the third episode of my Mecha BREAK Map review series. I know I've been sidetracked a lot with my adventures in Mashmuck, and as of this video's recording, a recent update has introduced a new boss in Mashmuck's restricted zone. But for now, let's get going on talking about the map Eye of Misra. This was originally my favorite map, back when I started out in the game's final beta test. In most cases, I was lucky enough to always win matches, and even found myself experiencing the same things that occurred quite often to begin. Both teams dive towards the ground of the map. The airspace is fully open for you to get a quick glance of the map's appearance before combat begins. And again, from a personal experience, I would say the top striker choice I've seen on this map would be Aquila. Aquila's role in 6v6 matches can easily be identified. They are always hovering in the sky after all strikers make their landing during the start of a match. And I was one of them who always went for the enemy Aquila during such moments, whereas Narukamis present a mixed result every time. They never set up camp on the same spots during the start of a match, so here's the following camping spots Narukamis will set up camp. The first spot would be on the rocket, the second spot would be the cave rooftop above point A, on the rocks above the trenches, or on point C's silos. As for these two strikers, Falcon and Skyraider, such strikers can easily be found as the top choices for opening skirmishes, especially if the additional intent involves gathering intel on where enemies are hiding, but enemy team compositions are never the same. Thus, if the idea is to initiate early match skirmishes, you would have to fly back because spending too much time in enemy areas will lead to an easy first kill for the enemy team, the map being quite open in terms of airspace for most combat situations is also ideal for both the dinosaur named strikers and the splitter twins. All four strikers mentioned can easily present great results at stalling time for teammates and damaging enemies. And if I was to rank combat difficulty from the easiest to the hardest, I dare say the easiest area would be the B-line capture point, because where it stands from the rocket is quite easily seen as a straight line in comparison to point C, which can involve dealing with an uphill ground if it came to that. Plus, if the entrance wasn't your point of escape, you would have to jump or fly over the fencing surrounding the Korite silos area. Then comes the hardest area for combat, which is the indoor room, aka Point A. It's an area where Aquilas and Narukamis can easily face difficulty because the area has a major focus on close quarters combat and a lack of hiding spots, which means strikers that are designed for such combat will score better at outputting damage and especially for kills. While Skyraider, Alfred, and Falcon have their risks at being easy targets, but from a personal experience, if you are piloting, let's say, Falcon, you may not score a kill without assistance, but utilizing your mobility, you can easily stall time to distract the enemy team, because in the perspective of the team being annoyed by said striker, if you attempted to extract the key, Falcon has 3 weapons to fire upon the spot, which will draw attention from others prioritizing killing Falcon. If other strikers have been eliminated or deemed to be an obstacle that can easily be blocked or have their attention span distracted with other priorities. Now, for the area that sees the least of striker presence, comes back to what I mentioned earlier. in the video. The Corite and non-Corite trenches. They can be utilized whenever either said point is enabled for teams to contest. Both trenches are avoided by everybody due to the lack of space available should combat scenarios fail to fall in anyone's favor. But similar to point A, the trenches do see an advantage for melee-based strikers. For any map mechanics, there is the presence of Corite pulse storms. However, this is the least of anyone's problems because only FCS systems are affected, which means you can still target enemy strikers, but similar to what precedes this map. I would say it's better than dealing with solar storms on Visual Librum, where it can damage your striker. And speaking of Visual Librum, the three methods to head into point A are easier compared to what Visual Librum offers. For example, if you are piloting a heavier striker or you are low on energy, you would find it difficult in attempting to enter point A if you decided to use the middle entrance featuring the lifts, or the one with the garage door. Whereas on Eye of Misra, two entrances are on a equal level with the sand, and the upper entrance isn't built that high, which means you can easily make it in there without needing to use a lot of energy. And finally, two entrances to point A need to be accessed by garage doors, but that's one map mechanic no one really complains about unless the situation was dire, thus not following in their favor. Now, for the case of map design in terms of size, it's right in the middle where it's not big and not wide open like the two observatory maps, and it's not a small map either like the Karub Sinkhole where combat is always at a close range. So to suffice, this map is another ideal map to practice taking down strikers in various situations, especially if it came down to those who are equipped for long-range engagements. To officially talk about map design, most of it's wide open space with not a lot of vast structures or terrain in the way, which means anyone learning how to navigate a map can learn quickly. Then the second benefit of this map is the lack of PvE targets, which means any weapons that rely strictly on a FCS system will not be distracted that easily, unless patches of Corite are a factor you would consider. But when it comes to a team build, I'm going to present 3 ideas that I personally see as ideal, but these are just from personal experiences and my opinions. The first team build involves these strikers: Falcon, Skyraider, Pinaka, Hurricane, Tricera, and Panther. The reason I chose these strikers for such a team build for this map is because it's focused not entirely on mobility. It also factors in the importance for strikers such as Tricera with its healing drones and Hurricane for its shields. Falcon and Skyraider can serve as strikers to attack enemy backlines, gather intel, and both of them can easily stall out and distract the enemy team on their own, even at places like Point A. So with those two strikers combined with Pinaka's emergency support drone, which can shield teammates, then comes the striker for close quarters combat. I chose Panther because this striker is designed for initiating engagements and to be able to activate your own shields and refill your own energy. You can easily stay alive in order to go for another attempt at fighting enemies or to retreat. If there was any problem with this team build, If Pinaka was defeated, relying on Tricera to share its healing drones would be an issue, should you be at a distance from the said striker, and for melee combat, such responsibility falls to Panther, so what could possibly go wrong? To suffice, this build serves as one of the many team builds designed for stalling enemies as much as possible with the assistance of mobility. My second team build I have in mind: Skyraider, Aquila, Inferno, Hurricane, Welkin, and Stellaris. And here's the explanation for this team build. Its main idea revolves around the splitter twins because throughout many matches I've seen on this map, while it's not both of them I would see on either side, most of the time, there's always the chance of encountering either one on the enemy team. And their efficiency in combat, while you can hover at a close distance to support your team, the only downside to using either one of these splitter twins, you are going to be a priority target should the enemy team split up responsibilities with attacking the main force on the ground, fighting for the key, while someone else attacks you. For Skyraider's role in this build, once again it serves as general support and distractions for the enemy, but if I can try to convince anyone why this team setup would be something many can agree on, it would be Aquila and Welkin, because I noticed in many matches, as long as you have those two strikers on your team, damage output or contributions to a match often yield great results. Usually the team wins. Finally, for Stellaris, I see Stellaris as the sneak attack striker, if not last resort striker if things don't go well, because Stellaris's role as a melee striker isn't to, for a lack of better word, to start engagements, but serve as more of a hit and run melee striker, to attack snipers or anyone attempting to block entrances to an area. And finally, I guess if things go well, a Stellaris can try to get a key, with the only downside being how Mecha BREAK has melee flight coded, which means during flight, if the FCS system detects an enemy, whoever is piloting Stellaris has to manually intervene in order to get back on track to flying to the rocket in order to upload the key. Now, for the third team build, here's what I got: Alfred, Panther, Stego, Narukami, Welkin, and Aleseness. This team build has Alfred being solely responsible for being the fastest one on the team with its speed. It can easily cover travel across the map. Then the three melee strikers, Panther, Welkin, and Aleseness. They would be the mainstream choices for melee engagements, and the teamwork for Panther and Aleseness, both featuring equipment they can use to recover and attempt at another engagement, whereas Welkin's force field can easily trap enemies, combined with the assistance of Panther and Aleseness, once again, can guarantee a kill, should the one trapped in the box manage to escape. And let's not forget, Welkin's box can also serve as a fence, if you will, when it comes to areas such as Point A. Then the responsibility for map control would fall on Stego and Narukami. Stego's barrage can easily cover targets that fly around the map, while its smokescreen can prevent FCS systems from targeting your teammates. And Narukami's role as the sniper comes in very handy on both Point B and C. However, when it comes to Point A, survivability isn't going to be as good because there really isn't a place to hide when spaces are tight and not wide open. So, with all of that out of the way, I would give the Eye of Misra a rating of 3 out of 5 stars. It's not to present this map as a terrible map, but rather I'm trying to indicate what the map offers. It's right in the middle, and it's up to you on how you would interpret if what the map offers are seen as good, bad, or anything that should have been done prior to the map's release. And to reach my final point in this video, I have yet to check out the new boss in Mashmak, but I did have one victory against the Hellcat. You can click the pop-up on the top right, and a link to the video is also in the description as well. Good luck to everyone who is going to take on the new Mashmak boss. My name is Dragon Actual, and thanks for watching. See you next time.